All right, welcome to The Explainer. So, when you think about Oman's economic future, what comes to mind? Probably stuff like AI, right? High-tech ventures? Well, what if I told you the real star of the show is something much older? Something that's been right under everyone's noses all along.
I mean, up until recently, the whole conversation around Oman's economy was about these really ambitious, future-forward industries. We're talking AI, fintech, green hydrogen, the whole nine yards. This was supposed to be the stuff that would define Oman for the next generation.
But here's the twist. When you actually dig into the numbers, when you get past the headlines, a totally different picture starts to form. A much more powerful one, actually. The data is pointing to this unlikely hero in Oman's big push to diversify its economy.
Okay, so this is where it gets super interesting. Let's really dive into the data, because what we're about to see completely challenges that big, flashy, high-tech story and shows us what's really making a difference.
And wow, the difference is it's night and day. Check this out. In the second quarter of 2025, industry barely moved, like 0.2% growth. Services, they did pretty good, almost 5%. But then you look at agriculture and fisheries, an insane 12.5% growth. I mean, it just blew everything else out of the water. And that 12.5%, that's not just a number on a chart. We're talking about more than 307 million Omani rials. That's real value pumped into the economy in just one quarter. That is a massive jump from the year before.
So here's the real kicker, right? The biggest economic win for Oman didn't come from some brand new, complicated industry. Nope, it came from modernizing and unlocking the potential of things they already knew how to do and do well. Sectors they've understood for, well, forever.
So the big question is, how did they pull this off? How did they get that kind of growth? Let's start with fisheries, because it's the perfect example of this shift, moving away from just selling a raw material to creating something much, much more valuable.
See, for years and years, the old way of doing things was super simple. Catch the fish, sell the fish. That's it. But the problem was, all the really profitable stuff, the processing, the canning, the packaging, that was all happening somewhere else. Oman was basically just giving away its profits to other countries.
But then came the new plan, which completely flipped that old model on its head. The heart of it all is the new Fisheries Industry Zone in Duqm. Now, the whole shebang happens right there inside Oman. They're not just selling fish anymore. Now they're making canned sardines, tuna, fish oil, high-value goods they can export. And every single one of those steps adds more value and more money right back into the Omani economy. And this goes way beyond just big business. Think about what this means for the local fishermen. Before, their income was totally unpredictable, selling their catch on the shore. Now, they have steady, contract-based work from these big processing plants. That kind of stability is a game changer. It means they can finally invest in their boats, get better equipment, and actually build a secure future. Okay, so this whole idea of modernizing a traditional sector, it wasn't just a fluke with fisheries. We see almost the exact same playbook being used in agriculture, a really similar story.
And what's so wild about the agriculture story is that the growth didn't come from planting more stuff. The farmers were already growing plenty. The real issue, the thing holding everything back, was a huge bottleneck in the system. So much good produce was literally going to waste just because there wasn't a good way to get it from the farm to the customer. So, what was the fix? Well, it was an absolute game changer called the Silalal Central Market. And listen, this isn't just some new building to sell vegetables in. It's a massive, state-of-the-art logistics hub. We're talking 30,000 square meters of climate-controlled space, 90 refrigerated warehouses. It basically solved that entire logistics nightmare in one fell swoop.
And the results? They were instant and just staggering. Right after it opened, the market moved over 26,000 tons of produce. And remember, this wasn't new production. This was stuff that was already being grown, but now, finally, had a way to get sold. It was all the proof you needed that the potential was there the whole time, just trapped.
Now, this wasn't just a lucky break from building a new market. It was backed up by some really smart government policy. There's this program called Localizing the Second Billion, and its goal was crystal clear. Let's replace 1 billion rials of food we're importing with food we grow ourselves.
So when you step back and look at the success of both fisheries and agriculture, what's the big lesson here? Well, it seems to point to a whole new playbook for economic diversification, one that other countries could definitely learn from.
It turns out that growing food and fishing they operate on a totally different logic from building a giant factory or a tech hub. Think about it. You get results way faster.
It's less about massive upfront capital and more about smart logistics. And the best part? You have a guaranteed demand right at home. People have to eat. So you can see real, tangible results in a much shorter time frame. And for a country like Oman, this model is just a perfect fit. It spreads the wealth, creating jobs out in the regions, not just piling everyone into the capital city. It connects the economy directly to the land and the sea. And hey, every tomato grown at home is one less tomato they have to import. It's a win-win-win.
So to be clear, the lesson here isn't forget about AI or don't bother with green hydrogen. Not at all. Those big futuristic goals are still super important. The real lesson is about finding a balance. You need those long-term moonshots for sure, but you also need to pair them with these solid, grounded projects that can deliver real growth and real jobs right here, right now.
And this really marks a huge shift in how we think about this stuff. Food security, making sure your country can feed itself, that used to be seen as a defensive move, just a basic necessity. But what Oman is showing is that it can actually be one of your best offensive strategies, a primary driver of real economic power.
So in the end, Oman's story leaves us with a really powerful question to think about, not just for them, but for any country building its future. What if the most powerful path to growth isn't about chasing the next brand new thing, but about getting really, really good at what you already do?